The Zyx'arra nervously adjusted her iridescent scales as she approached the towering spires of the Galactic Literary Exchange. The crystalline structures of Nexus Prime glittered in the light of 3 setting suns, a breathtaking view that usually calmed her nerves. But not today. Today she carried a treasure more valuable than any gem in the known universe, a collection of human stories. As the junior cultural attaché for the Bexilian Confederation, Zyx'arra had been tasked with acquiring new narrative experiences for her people. It was a prestigious assignment, one that could make or break her career. She'd spent cycles researching obscure civilizations, hoping to find anything that could captivate the notoriously hard-to-please Vexilian masses. And then she discovered Earth. The pneumatic doors of the exchange hissed open, revealing a cavernous atrium teeming with beings from 1,000 worlds. Holographic displays showcased popular works from across the galaxy, but Zyx'arra barely glanced at them. She made her way to the central kiosk, where a bored-looking Quandara clerk was processing requests. Next, the clerk's monotone voice buzzed through its translator. Zyx'arra stepped forward, her tendrils quivering with excitement. "I'd like to register a new literary collection for galactic distribution." The clerk's compound eyes flickered with mild interest source. "Earth," Zyx'arra replied, unable to keep a note of pride from her voice. The clerk's antennae twitched. "Earth? Never heard of it. Some backwater fringe world, I assume?" "Not exactly," Zyx'arra said, placing the data crystal on the counter. "They're newcomers to the galactic stage, but their stories, they're unlike anything I've ever encountered." The clerk sighed, a sound like rustling leaves. "That's what they all say. Very well, let's see what you've got." As the clerk interfaced with the crystal, Zyx'arra held her breath. She'd created this collection, carefully choosing works that showcased the breadth and depth of human creativity. From ancient epics to postmodern novels, from heartwarming children's to mind-bending science fiction, she tried to capture the essence of human storytelling. The clerk's eyes widened as it processed the data. Its normally impassive face contorted into an expression Zyx'arra couldn't quite interpret. This is incredible," Zyx'arra offered hopefully. "Dangerous," the clerk hissed, pushing the crystal back across the counter. "Do you have any idea what you've brought here?" Zyx'arra's scales flattened in confusion. "I don't understand. They're just stories." "Just stories." The clerk's voice rose, attracting the attention of nearby patrons. "These narratives contain ideas that could destabilize entire civilizations, concepts of individual freedom, of challenging authority, of embracing chaos and uncertainty. Do you know what would happen if these spread across the Concordat?" A crowd was gathering now. Drawn by the clerk's outburst, Zyx'arra felt her chances of a successful registration slipping away. "But that's what makes them so powerful," she argued. "Human stories don't just entertain, they challenge, they inspire, they corrupt." A new voice interrupted. The crowd parted to reveal Corax, the legendary archiver of Nexus Prime. His ancient, tree-like form towered over the assembled aliens, his bark etched with the wisdom of millennia. Zyx'arra's heart sank. If the archiver himself was intervening, surely her mission was doomed. But to her surprise, Corax reached out a gnarled branch and gently lifted the data crystal. "Young Vexilian," he rumbled, his voice like shifting tectonic plates, "do you understand what you've discovered?" Zyx'arra straightened her posture, determination overcoming her fear. "I believe I do, Archiver. These human stories, they're not like anything in our archives. They're messy, contradictory, sometimes even illogical. But they're also beautiful, thought-provoking, and deeply moving." Corax's leaves rustled in what might have been a chuckle. "Well said. And you are correct, there is nothing quite like human literature in all our vast collections." He turned to address the growing crowd. "My friends, we stand at a crossroads. For eons, we have cultivated stability, order, and harmony across the galaxy. Our stories reflect these values, reinforcing the smooth operation of our societies." The Archiver paused, his ancient eyes sweeping across the assembled aliens. "But in doing so, have we lost something vital? The spark of chaos that drives innovation, the uncomfortable questions that spur growth, the embracing of paradox that leads to deeper understanding?" He held up the crystal, which seemed to pulse with an inner light. "These human tales are indeed dangerous to complacency, to stagnation, to the illusion of perfect order. They are a shock to our systems, a challenge to our most deeply held beliefs, and that is precisely why we need them." A murmur ran through the crowd. Zyx'arra could sense a mixture of excitement and apprehension rippling through the gathered aliens. The clerk spluttered in protest, but Cor Axe silenced it with a gentle wave. I propose, the archiver continued, that we create a new category in our literary classification system. We shall call it Terra-narrative dynamics. These works will carry a warning label, advising readers of their potentially transformative nature, but they will be made available to all who seek them. Zyx'arra could hardly believe what she was hearing. Not only was her collection being accepted, but it was being given a place of honor in the Galactic Archives. As if reading her thoughts, Cor Axe turned back to her. Young one, you have brought us a great gift, and an equally great responsibility. We will need a guide to help us navigate these uncharted waters of human storytelling. Would you be willing to serve in this capacity? Overwhelmed, Zyx'arra could only nod. The archiver smiled at least. She thought it was a smile, and addressed the crowd once more. Let it be known that on this day, a new chapter begins in the literary history of our galaxy. May these human stories challenge us, inspire us, and remind us of the infinite possibilities that lie in the realm of imagination. As the announcement concluded, the assembled aliens burst into a cacophony of excited chatter. Zyx'arra found herself surrounded by beings eager to learn more about these mysterious human tales. In the months that followed, Zyx'arra's life became a whirlwind of activity. The demand for human literature exploded across the galaxy. She organized reading groups, gave lectures on narrative techniques, and helped explain obscure human concepts like sarcasm and unreliable narrators to bewildered alien audiences. The effects were both profound and unpredictable. On Zyx'arra's homeworld, a wave of individually styled scale patterns swept through the younger generation, inspired by the human notion of self-expression. The hive-mind civilization of the Yaks, or Lat'ea, experienced its first case of individual dissent after a drone read Orwell's 1984. The war-torn sectors of the Fringe saw a surge of peace initiatives, driven by the philosophy of Von Slaughterhouse-Fiver. Not everyone was pleased with these changes. Some conservative factions argued that human literature was a corrosive influence undermining the stability of their society. There were calls for censorship, for a return to the safe, predictable stories of old. But it was too late. The floodgates had been opened, and the galaxy was irrevocably changed. Alien authors began experimenting with human-inspired techniques, creating hybrid works that blended the best of both narrative traditions. Philosophers debated the nature of reality, spurred by the mind-bending concepts in works like The Matrix and Inception. And still, the demand for more human stories grew. 5 cycles after her fateful visit to the Galactic Literary Exchange, Zyx'arra found herself standing before the newly constructed Terran embassy on Nexus Prime. The building was an architectural marvel, its design an amalgamation of styles from across human history, from the clean lines of modernism to the ornate flourishes of the Baroque. As she waited for her appointment, Zyx'arra reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She had risen from a junior attaché to become one of the most respected cultural advisors in the Concordat. Her expertise in human literature had opened doors she never could have imagined. The embassy door slid open, and a human woman emerged. She was older, with silver hair and laugh lines around her eyes, but she moved with the energy of someone half her age. "Dr. Shen, I presume?" Zyx'arra said, extending a tendril in greeting. The woman smiled warmly. "And you must be Zyx'arra. It's a pleasure to finally meet you in person. Your work in spreading our stories across the galaxy has been nothing short of remarkable." That Zyx'arra felt her scales flush with pride. "The pleasure is mine, Doctor. Your people's literature has transformed our civilization in ways we're still struggling to comprehend." Dr. Chen nodded, a hint of mischief in her eyes. "Yes, I've heard there have been some interesting developments. A Zorlak poet attempting haiku, a Vernax philosopher grappling with existentialism." Indeed, Zyx'arra chuckled. "But that's not why I'm here today. Dr. Chen, the Galactic Council has a request, one might even call it a plea." The human raised an eyebrow. "Oh? And what might that be?" Zyx'arra took a deep breath. "We've devoured every human story we could get our appendages on. We've analyzed, debated, and been inspired by your words, but it's not enough. We need more." Dr. Shen's eyes widened in surprise. "More? But surely you've had access to our entire literary canon by now." "We have," Zyx'arra confirmed. But don't you see, your stories have awakened something in us, a hunger for new ideas, for fresh perspectives, for narratives that challenge everything we thought we knew. We don't just want your existing literature, we want your future stories. Understanding dawned on Dr. Chen's face. You want us to keep writing. Not just writing, Zyx'arra said, her voice filled with passionate intensity. We want cultural exchange programs, writer-in-residence opportunities for humans across the galaxy. We want to learn your craft, to understand the source of your boundless creativity. Dr. Chen was silent for a long moment, her expression thoughtful. Finally she spoke. You know, Zyx'arra, for centuries humanity dreamed of reaching the stars. We imagined making contact with alien civilizations, sharing knowledge, exploring the cosmos together. But in all our science fiction, all our wildest fantasies, we never quite imagined this. Imagined what? Zyx'arra asked, curious. That our greatest contribution to the galaxy would be our stories, Dr. Chen said, a note of wonder in her voice. That our words would resonate across the cosmos, bridging the gaps between wildly different species and cultures. She extended her hand, and Zyx'arra wrapped a tendril around it in the human gesture of agreement. Tell the Galactic Council that Earth accepts their proposal. We would be honored to continue sharing our stories with the galaxy. As they shook, Zyx'arra felt a shiver of excitement run through her scales. This was more than just a cultural exchange, it was the beginning of a new era. An era where the power of human imagination would fuel the growth and evolution of galactic civilization. For in the end, it wasn't faster than light travel or advanced technology that truly united the cosmos. It was the simple, profound magic of a well-told tale. And the story of humanity's impact on the galaxy. Well, that was just beginning.